Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Going to do a further video today, looking back at the Kilmarnock game a couple of days ago and looking forward to the rest of the season. Today's video, Deja Vu all over again, part 2. 12 games for Celtic to regain the title. And as I said, both a look forward and a look back. Now, before we get cracking with today's video, if you are new to this channel, new to these videos, and you do enjoy the video, do click that like and subscribe button. If you're already a viewer and subscriber, please do click that like and subscribe button. And for everybody, do remember that the comment section always open for polite, pleasant, constructive debating points, opinions, thoughts, etc. And I'll reply as quick as I can within the comment section to add to the debate and discussion, and or alternatively address any thoughts, players you've been watching, other thoughts in future videos. So, as I said, today's video is a wee bit look back to the Kilmarnock game and a wee bit of a look forward to the next 12 games of the league season, 7 games to go before the split, and then the 5 games to decide the title. Of course, since last video, we're now 2 points behind our biggest rival Rangers in the league, and they've got an advantage of now 3 goals in the terms of goal difference, and so obviously they are now in a better position. If we look at our next couple of fixtures, we've got Motherwell and Dundee, their next 2 fixtures, Hearts and Kilmarnock, and so it would certainly appear over the next couple of games they have 2 tough games, and probably their 2 toughest games between now and the split, other than the game at Ibrox against Celtic, which of course could be quite a pivotal match in terms of which team has the momentum going into the split a week or 2 later. Now, if we look back to the last time we played Rangers, we went 8 points ahead, although it's important to remember at that point they had 2 games in hand. They won those 2 games in hand. So if we look back to that fixture just before the new year at the end of 2023, we were in effect 2 points ahead. And so since that time, they've consistently managed to win, and we've consistently managed to mix winning and drawing from winning positions. If we look back, as I said, in terms of deja vu to the Ange Postecoglou first season, 21-22, at an equivalent time on Boxing Day of 2021, we were 6 points behind Rangers at that time. And we then went into an extended winter break. Both teams came back from the extended winter break. Rangers' form for the rest of the season was a mixture of wins and draws with the odd loss. Our record from that return from the midwinter break against Hibs, when Hatate Maeda came into the squad, and from that point onwards, we won all the games apart from a few draws, and had critical wins. Win over Rangers that took us to the top of the table. That was at 3-0 evening in February, and then we consistently managed to win games and didn't throw away leads to lose games or draw games. So there is still plenty of time to win the league, plenty of time to recover that 2-point deficit. It makes the 2 games against Rangers even more important than they would have been. At one point, Celtic were 10 points ahead of Rangers, in October, although at that point they did have a game in hand, and the lead did stay around the 7-point mark for quite a long time. Did take a bit of a dip when we had the back-to-back losses against Kilmarnock and Hearts, and then we regained some of that gap with the win over Rangers at the end of 2023. So what I would say is, in ordinary circumstances, the league is very much there to be won, and I still believe that it is. Now, there were stories that after the back-to-back league losses to Kilmarnock and then Hearts, the players had a clear the air players meeting with leaders such as Greg Taylor, Joe Hart, and Callum McGregor taking the lead, and that did seem to restore momentum, confidence, team spirit, as that then led into the win against Livingston, then Dundee, then Rangers, then St Mirren, and probably again similar to the 21-22 season, where the mid-season break came just at the right time for us and the wrong time for Rangers. It does appear that the mid-winter break after the St Mirren game, which was a good victory for us, kind of killed off all of our momentum and gave the other lot a chance to get themselves reorganised. Both teams, in my estimation, had quite disappointing winter transfer windows, and didn't really add that much quality to the squad overall. Two of their three additions have settled in quite nicely. One seems to be in and out of the reckoning and in and out of form at Rangers. From us, I think Adam Ida has settled in fine. Good contributions in the Aberdeen, St Mirren and Hibs matches, scoring of course 2 goals in the Hibs matches, with the second of those, which was a second penalty, giving us the win. He had a fine game against St Mirren in the Cup. And against Kilmarnock at the weekend, like most of the Celtic team, was very much under par. He did manage to battle his way through a couple of times. For the Kyogo goal, a combination of him and Dyson Maida drawing away defenders did create the space for Kyogo to score that goal. Not saying that Adam Ida has had a great start to his Celtic career, but has had a decent start to his Celtic career. A couple of goals, a couple of assists, and has given Celtic a different option up front. Our other addition, Nicholas Kuhn, has been, for me, very, very disappointing. Did score a deflected goal against Aberdeen. Otherwise, his performances have been very, very poor. And for me, it's like having Mikey Johnson in a rehashed new version. In that Mikey Johnson had a few nice touches here and there in his various different games. Did score 2 very vital goals in the Boxing Day win over Dundee, but otherwise very, very disappointing. And so for me, Nicholas Kuhn is very similar to having Mikey Johnson out wide. And sadly, Lila Bada has not made a good comeback from his long-standing thigh injury. Difficult to come back from several months out with a major leg injury, and also it's also been complicated by a lot of understandable psychological stresses and worries regarding friends, family, still in a very perilous situation at home. And so I do have my doubts that he's actually going to manage back to playing for Celtic in the next few weeks, which does kind of leave us at the moment with Palma and Maeda out wide. May allow us to look to promote players such as Mitchell Frame, Rocco Vata into the wide positions. That is certainly one option. I think Kuhn has every prospect of settling down. He, as I'm sure you're aware, did have quite a number of moves over the years, and then eventually did settle down well in Austria and had a good season and a half, complicated by injury in Austria before he moved to us in the winter. So there's still time for Nicholas Kuhn to turn things around. Yang is a player, I think, with lots of promise. The question for me is why his form when he was playing in South Korea and his often good form playing for the South Korean full international side, why that has been rather patchy playing for Celtic. Is that we're trying to play him in a different sort of role out wide? Is he not being encouraged to cut into the box, which was one of his big skills playing at home in South Korea? From memory, the best spell that Yang had was around the Aberdeen match, which he did score one of the goals. And at that time, he was starting to both play down the wing, but also cutting in regularly into the box, and also passing, crossing into the box and getting into the box for shots and headers himself. He did show that a wee bit in the game against St Mirren in the Cup, but does seem like a lot of the players are a wee bit confused as to what their role is. I don't think our current wide players, other than Maida, really have the pace to beat people with pace out wide. So people such as Kuhn and Palmer are best cutting into the box. Yang does look like he has a lot of pace, but does seem to have difficulty both running fast and keeping the ball under control, which also can be accused of Daisen Maida, as well as Daisen Maida's final pass or cross is often overhit, underhit, or skewed in out of play. So, basic summary of this wee rant is that we've been in a very good position this season. We kind of blew it. Then with the Livingston match through to the last match of the half season up to the midwinter break, we had a really good run of form from Livingston, Dundee, Rangers, then St Mirren. Now that did seem to come after clear the air talks amongst the senior players and the rest of the squad. And from what Greg Taylor has been saying in the press, Celtic did have a clear the air conversation or discussion or argument or verbal fight, etc., depending on how you want to term it, in the dressing room after the game. And apparently there are clear the air talks amongst the players planned for today after training, after the debrief situation, debrief session with Rodgers and the coaching staff and the analysts. Players such as Taylor, McGregor and Hart are very important in the dressing room. Cal McGregor doesn't seem quite the Scott Brown, Neil Lennon, Paul Lambert figure of geeing up the troops, getting everybody full of fire and passion. Joe Hart does seem to be a bit more of an inspiration. Greg Taylor apparently is, according to many sources, is very good at motivating other players. And McGregor, according to the squad, people such as Ali Johnston and others have said that McGregor is a very good leader in training, a very good leader on the pitch. And it does feel to me that he's been a bit subdued since we came back from the winter break. Our next match is against Motherwell, which will be the day following Rangers' game against Hearts. So it could be that we're going into the Motherwell match 5 points behind. It could be that we're going into the Motherwell match 3 points behind. It could be we're going to go into the Motherwell match 2 points behind. Either way, whatever we do, we need to keep pace and or beat the pace that Rangers are setting. They will have a couple more games than us through the rest of the season at least, because they have got a knockout phase Europa League match. Typically, teams after those Europa League matches do have problems with 2-3 games in 1 week, and that usually catches up with them, causes obviously extra fatigue, extra injuries, can magnify players having a loss of form or loss of confidence. And so either way, whatever Celtic does, they need to take advantage of any dips in form or any bad luck for our big rivals, much the same that they have taken advantage of our dips in form and our bad luck with injuries. It's hoped that CCV will be back for the next match, which is against Motherwell, as I said. The obvious player to drop out is going to be Stephen Welsh, and as I said in yesterday's Deja Vu video, Welsh's stats in defence have actually been pretty terrible, but for one reason or another, Rodgers has persisted with Welsh over both Nawrocki and Lagerbielke. When looking at the stats, Lagerbielke has the best stats of all our central defenders, kind of on a par with CCV and kind of on a par with Liam Scales, but certainly ahead of Welsh by a long chalk and ahead of Nawrocki also by a reasonable margin for all the relevant defensive stats. However, I do think CCV coming back to central defence will be important. There is an outside chance that Alison Johnston will be back at right back, and I think as soon as possible we should get back to our best back four. And Alison Johnston for me is a leader on the pitch. Cameron Carter-Vickers should be more of a leader on the pitch, and it may be after today's clear the air talks, CCV starts to become more vocal and organise things better in defence, with the help of Joe Hart behind him and Taylor and Johnston flanking him. Rio Hitati is working his way back from injury, and once that's the case, Celtic should have pretty much their best 11 and their best subs bench for the rest of the season, crossing our fingers that there's no further injuries to our key players. It has been significant that a lot of ex-Celtic players have been blaming, for me quite rightly, Brendan Rodgers as being the key figure in Celtic's poor recent results. We have to remember we have had a 10-match unbeaten run starting with the Livingston match. One of the snags, however, has been dropping points unexpectedly to Aberdeen and Kilmarnock, and struggling to wins against Ross County and Hibs during that time. And so we aren't really in bad form, we're just in form where we're not putting games away and we're throwing away points with some poor defending, and another example of throwing a game that we were leading with stoppage time goals. And that's not what a top quality team does, and we can't afford to do that for the rest of the season. So I am summarising everything so far, hopeful and optimistic that if the players do have a meeting, restore their confidence, restore their passion and fight for the badge, for the teammates and for the club, much like they seem to have done after similar talks and discussions and meetings after the Hearts loss a couple of weeks before Christmas. I am hopeful and optimistic for the rest of this season. I think the next couple of games are going to be very important. We've got to get wins against Motherwell and Dundee. And so if Hearts and Kilmarnock do us a favour, the same way that Hearts and Kilmarnock did Rangers a favour, maybe we're going into the split with a nice wee lead. Maybe we're going into the vital Rangers fixture just before Eaksy Peaksy, like it was in Ange Postecoglou's 21-22 season, where that 3-0 win with goals by Hatate and Abada. Maybe we'll have a deja vu situation similar to that evening where we won the game, dented their confidence and got on top of the league, which we kept safely for the rest of that season, going unbeaten for the rest of that season. That's the kind of run of form we need. Nearly all wins, if not all wins, and winning the key big matches against Rangers, definitely at Celtic Park. And it may be that the game at Ibrox in April we can afford to draw leading into the final 5 fixtures, when it's very highly probable that both Celtic and Rangers are going to be facing Heart and Kilmarnock again. And so I think Hearts and Kilmarnock could also be a big factor in deciding this season. And both Hearts and Kilmarnock, I think this season have improved things quite considerably. I think Kilmarnock in particular have an especially good manager who is very tactically astute, very good at reacting to other managers and coaches' changes, very good at reorganising his team during the game, which does appear to be a big fault for Brendan Rodgers, as he very rarely seems to be able to influence a match, either in terms of his substitutions, tactical decisions and changes during the match, or his half-time break pep talk. And I think that is one of the reasons that we have had inconsistent and disappointing results this season, has been Rodgers' inability to get things changed on the pitch, inability to make good substitutions when they're required, and inability to change his preset plans to suit the game situation, i.e. 5-10 minutes to go in a game, you're 1-0 up, why not tighten up defence, throw on an extra defender, cut down the space, stop players from the opposition getting down the sides or in behind, shore up the win, get the 3 points, move on to the next match. I know as Celtic fans we love attacking football, we love exciting football, but every now and again you need to just win the game one way or another. To a very, very large extent, in Ange Postecoglou's 2 seasons, he found ways to win games from losing and drawing situations, and very, very consistently kept leads, and very rarely ever threw away a lead going into the match late on. So I think we'll finish things off there in today's video. And just one final reminder, if you have enjoyed this video, enjoyed the channel, do have a wee look at the other videos, do think about clicking that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. And remember, the like button helps with analytics, and for one reason or another, popping a comment in the comment section also gives YouTube a nice tick to make these videos get seen by or shown to more people as a video they might like to watch. So like button, subscribe button, and adding an opinion are all good ways to promote this channel, which will make me happy. So for today, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, goodbye, and hail hail.